Hello, Kaiju Seekers. Welcome to another Kaijunaut Variety Hour. This one is going to be a pretty interesting one. As anyone who may know, the trailer for the 2025 Anaconda reboot and/or semi-remake. I don't know what to call it. It's a weird little thing that's happening, and I'm going to give my discussions on it. I'll also be sending out the invitation for anyone else who might want to discuss the recent announcements with everything. Uh, it was particularly funny because the day before, I woke up to the first two images from the film that feature both Paul Rudd and Jack Black, who are both going to be the main characters of the film. And so, funny enough, I was just awoken to an immeasurable amount of disappointment, especially not with the main characters. It's more so to do with the premise of the film that I was even more let down by today, having watched the trailer, as it's not something that's come up too much before. But as anyone knows, I am a big fan of the uh, original 1997, I believe, Anaconda movie. I grew up with it, and it's one of the main reasons I love snakes in particular so much. It is a big passion of mine. I do love reptiles in general. And so today we're just going to be discussing the new Anaconda trailer and also just the film in general because I remember when I first heard the announcement for it that I was very excited. As I said, I love the Anaconda film. And the franchise itself, I do also have a love for. It's more so the first two films, which we'll discuss coming up. But the first two films, I'd say, are, I think, the best of the franchise. And the franchise itself is actually, with this on top of the last few entries, are pretty confusing because I believe it's the first four films in the main line, and then it does cross over with the Lake Placid franchise. Let's see, Anaconda franchise. Yeah, because it's been a pretty long franchise. It's been around since the late 90s, so let's see here. I'll just pull up on my stream because share screen. There you go. So as you can see, it is a pretty long franchise. These are the four main films, which, like I said, there's Anacondas. So it's a little play on the Aliens franchise too, which is interesting. But Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid, which I think is a pretty good film, a pretty nice creature feature. I wouldn't say it's as good as the original, but it's not too bad either. And then we get to the Anaconda 3 Offspring, which was another childhood favorite. I liked watching this movie. But I think these two films, and then there's Anaconda's Trail of Blood. These two films are pretty, well, these two go together because you start with Anaconda 3 and then it goes on to Anacondas, which they have like a connecting storyline. These two can pretty much stand alone. But these two have a through line with the story. But yeah, they're pretty meh. It's kind of like the Tremors franchise for that instance, where after two, things sort of go more downhill as to not having that much notable things and/or lackluster stories overall. Whereas the first two are excellent examples of the creature feature genre. And so we're probably just going to do a little reaction to the trailer in a moment. Let's see. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Anaconda. And then I'm also just going to be sharing a link to anyone who might want to join me on the Zim Discord Zimzon 99. Let's see. Hmm. Give me any of your takes in the comments down below. If you have anything to say about the new movie, or if you know anything about the Anaconda franchise. Anyone wants to? All right. And I have the trailer. Hopefully, you guys can hear it well. When it pops up. Alright, I'm gonna be stopping every now and again. But alrighty. And like I said, there's this weird glitch with my headphones where I can't really hear y'all hear it so well, but let me know if this plays. So,
I don't want to wait, man.
We have Jack Black and Paul Rudd. And like I said, I have a problem with them being in the movie. It's because both of them have actually been in a few different creature features. Most notably, there was Jack Black with King Kong 2005, which is really good. Or at least it's more in line with the original tone of the movie, the direction it was going with, where it was like played straight. There wasn't that much comedy elements to it. And then there's Paul Rudd, who I would have to be reminded as to what specific, because the only thing that comes to mind off the top of my head right now is the Death of a Unicorn movie, which I did watch and I did like. It had a bit more of that like comedic element to it, but it was more played straight than I think what they're going for here, especially with just how so much of these guys' filmography is focused on more comedic elements. So there's that.
Doug, what are you talking about?
Let's do it. Let's reboot Anaconda.
Yes.
Wait, what?
All right, so then here is something that I was not a fan of when it came to the premise. It's which apparently the film Anaconda exists in this continuity, so there's no connection to any of the original films, which I would have been fine with. And then even if it was just like a just a standard remake, I probably wouldn't have an issue with that either. I would prefer that actually if it was just like a remake of the original film. But yeah, I don't like this like meta, oh, the film exists and we're gonna remake it. I don't like that. And I want to say I've probably heard of similar premises before, but nothing comes to mind. So I don't really know any specific or any other example of this film or this premise being done in any other creature feature or in any other like movie genre in general.
This is going to be the adventure of a lifetime. We've dreamed of making this movie ever since we were...
And then, so there shows some shots of the film. Here we have them together. And I don't know the context of this because I would have expected... Let me see. So here's the boat, which these characters are going to go into the jungle on a boat. And they have like the film crew. I'm assuming they're friends. And then there's probably going to be, I'm assuming, the crew of just the people in charge of the boat. But there's that element, which it looks nice. I like the look of the film. But then we get to the scene where they're all together and there's this. I have no idea what this is from. I'm assuming this is either a shot from a film, like an old film, and or it's a home video film that the characters have made. So I'm assuming they probably have some filmography background. for the characters if they're even thinking of doing a movie. But yeah, that's weird. If anyone knows what this still is from, if it's from a movie that exists, let me know.
It's
What does it cost to get this thing made?
$2.5 million.
We've approved a loan for up to $9,400.
Yes.
Yeah, and then like I said, well, I do like the look of the movie. I don't know, this way it's shot here is a little weird. Like it just gives me like just like those comedy movies, which are not inherently my thing. There are a few comedy films I do like, but I just don't know why they decided to go with Anaconda for it. It's really weird because like the franchise itself has been like the furthest thing away from any sort of comedy, and like everyone calls like the '97 one like a cheesy like monster B movie, but it's really like cheesy in retrospect, but not in the way it's actually because it's played straight. There's no modern like what people call like the Marvel comedy kind of thing, or anything like that. It's just a '90s film with its '90s like charm and a bit of like a pulpy adventure in some ways, like the classic adventures and like pulp stories, and then also just like the creature feature boom of the '90s. Um, that started with things like Jurassic Park, things like that. So I don't know why I decided to go with this more comedic premise and like just tone overall.
We're gonna shoot it indie style. Run and gun.
Yeah.
We need a riverboat, a script, a snake handler, and a real snake.
Yeah, so then they're gonna start doing the scripts and everything. You have the just the overall premise of them, and I guess there's gonna be an actual, well, like as you can see later, since I've watched the trailer, they're gonna have like an actual snake there, which I mean, if they have some practical shots, I think that'd be cool. But again, I don't know, it's a weird premise, like, and then even then, because like the original film was a film crew shooting a documentary, and if it was a film, like if it's, let's say it was even just a generic film of them wanting to film a giant snake movie, but there's no establishment of like Anaconda as a franchise or it being an actual movie in this version. I think that would have been better. I just don't like the whole meta thing of like they're trying to remake Anaconda in the movie. Um, Actually, I think now that I think about it, the film I think this most might be look like is like one of the excuse me, is one of the old excuse me. It's the what was it? One of the Nosferatu movies. Excuse me, I got some water, but da 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 da. Excuse me a moment. Forgive me, I am back, but I gotta get some water. I forgot about getting water for the stream because I don't normally talk for minutes on end. But yeah, also I was saying like I just don't like the whole meta concept for the most part.
Claire, you and I'll star in it.
I love you, Dad.
Yeah, and there's
And
that
you
snake,
shoot it.
which
Here we go. Doug, you
I'm
direct.
wondering
Action! Put your
because, like I
face
said, I'm a big fan of snakes and reptiles in general, and looking at the design of the fake snake they have here, which is like a CGI model, it It looks like it at best might be a yellow anaconda. Because what's funny is that even in the old posters for some of the movies, they would never really use an actual anaconda skin or design. They would always use either a reticulated python, a boa constrictor, things like that. It's always weird to see. That's just like a thing of the filmmakers not expecting the general audience to know the difference. But it's interesting to see.
Right
But
up next to
it's
the
a pretty nice
snake.
design for a snake overall. And then apparently the snake gets thrown and cut up by the propellers of the boat, so they lose their snake for the scene. And now they have to deal with not having a snake on the film. We're just sad for the snake.
You okay?
Cutting.
And this is a
This
Christmas
is
release.
Anaconda. And we no longer have a snake for our snake movie.
Yeah, it's interesting considering that I think Denim Denim was a filmmaker in the King Kong film, so Jack Black is essentially doing another type of character for this film, and that would have been like an interesting thing to see, especially if it was like a reference to that King Kong 2005 film. And like I said, I think it works with this character and Jack Black as an actor, because like I said, in that movie, King Kong 2005, it's like played straight, and he still has like his quirky mannerisms, and like it's Jack Black obviously, but it's played straight enough to where you can find yourself liking the character, like as this complicated character and all, and the filmmaker as well. But I think it's weird because like they're very much like it reminds me of like Paul, the Alien movie, and those two guys. I feel like it's gonna have that kind of vibe with these two characters. So I don't know. It's just gonna be really interesting to see that dynamic come into play. But I'm probably not, because honestly, I think the film can be fine with this tone. But I would have just preferred it to be more in line with the originals overall.
We have to go out in the jungle and find another one.
Yeah, and then this is the reveal of the Anaconda coming up. And one thing is what I didn't really get my hopes too high up that they would use any practical effects at all. Because, I mean, everything nowadays is mostly CGI. But given how well the practical effects worked with the original and how effective that snake was, I think it was a shame that they didn't have like maybe they can still have something, because I think there is one effect that comes later on that I'm pretty sure is practical. So it's not like they didn't have anything like that going on, but it's still sad to see that this is just another giant snake and entirely CGI. Which, like again, CGI not to knock it or anything, but like it just loses that charm that the original had, and just how well done those effects were. Because even in the original, like the CGI for that one as well is actually pretty good. For the most part, in the film, it isn't really too jarring or anything, especially for '97, which at that time CGI had got the ball rolling, but it still wasn't what it was by the time the mid 2000s came along, and more CGI was starting to be normalized and like just just the go-to way to do effects. But so that is actually really neat.
What is that?
And actually, looking at the design of the Anaconda, it actually looks really good. It actually looks better than the snake they had before, which I don't even know if it was an Anaconda. It might be something else, but this one is definitely an Anaconda. It has like the signature markings along the sides of its head to its eyes. I want to take a closer look at how they designed the inside of the mouth, because a problem with the famous or infamous Python franchise is that even the boa franchise as well, because like every snake species has a franchise these days. But they designed their constrictors with fangs that are typically associated with those that envenomate their prey. So it's I'm gonna have to look and make sure they get it right.
Oh
But
my!
yeah, it looks like pretty neat. And of course, they use the iconic Nicki Minaj "Anaconda" song with this one, which I mean, in some ways it's clever, I guess, but in other ways it's like, of course they would.
We're in the middle of the jungle and we are being hunted.
Yeah. So then there's the snake. That's a pretty cool scene. Let's see.
Anaconda.
Let's see. Let's not have that.
Anaconda.
That actually looks pretty good. It doesn't look like it has fangs. See, they all should have curved teeth that go backwards. And of course, there's like the unhinged jaw that isn't connected. So it looks like pretty good snake anatomy. So then let's just skip up ahead and actually turn on the volume a little bit, just so that, as Zim says, I don't get my nuts slapped. But again, anyone let me know what you guys are thinking so far in terms of what the film is, the legacy of the franchise, things like that. Because again, I'm gonna have some more things to say later on once we get through with this. But
It's okay, you're safe. I'm here.
oh, there you go. And I think even like something like this is like somewhat expected, especially in this kind of film. But let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and mute some of this stuff, but at this point, since the song is gonna be ramping up, yeah. But there you go. You have this is interesting. That warthog there. Actually, the first image that got revealed was the Jack Black carrying the warthog. So I was wondering what the context of that was, which is pretty weird. And it looks like Jack Black got regurgitated, and/or he was pooped out, which would be weird as well, since by the time that would happen, he would have been crushed and digested. So I'm assuming regurgitated along with the hog, I guess. Which, oh, who knows? Maybe a reference to the original. In the original, there's a warthog attack, so that'd be interesting. And then we have this shot where they think that Jack Black is dead, and I guess they're gonna have to use him as bait. And yeah, there was this thing, which is interesting. I was wondering what the hell the context was for this, but yeah, and there's that scene where I guess, weirdly enough, Jack Black is spitting out what I think is just like a dropping pellet, which is pretty accurate, weirdly enough, to how snakes actually defecate. And it's weird, I guess, part of that comedy element. Yeah. And the snake is coming. And then we have like a almost Jurassic Park-esque scene of him running through the long grass in this big open scene right here. Paul Rudd, Jack Black. And then, oh, there he goes. Anaconda. And like, again, like it's seems like they're going for more of a name make, in which they take the name of this and then they make something else, but it doesn't have too much to do at all with the original, and/or is not like an actual remake in some senses, but in others it's different. Which, like I just don't like the approach they did with it. I don't like the tone. The whole meta premise of them remaking the movie, and it's coming for Christmas. There you go. Oh, there you are. But yeah, so there's that. And so when I originally, like I said before, learned of the fact that they were remaking an Anaconda movie, which was a while ago, I forget if I even watched the announcement thing they did for that, where you had Paul Rudd and Jack Black announcing it. But because I think I knew from the beginning they were in it, but I didn't really know of the premise till then, till yesterday. But like I still looked forward to it. And then the other day came the two photos, and then as well as the premise, and I just was disappointed because I knew it was probably not going to be what either it wasn't going to be what I wanted, and it wasn't going to be something that I thought was going to be up to par with what the original was because of just how special that film is to me and how much I think it is a genuinely good creature feature, as well as overall just a good movie. Um, but like I said, this is the first film of its kind within the franchise, and um, yeah, it's just weird to see. None of the other movies had any comedic tone to them, and I don't know. It's just like it's. I've seen many commenting it's bordering on like a parody of what the original was. Um, and then like I have to agree, like this is borderline a parody film of what that film was, and like at best, I was hoping it would be in the same vein as the recent Meg films with Jason Statham, because I personally really do like those movies. I think they are again good creature features, fun summertime blockbusters. Um, and so if it had that tone, I would have been happy. But the overly because like I don't even think that I wouldn't say that this film is anywhere on par with the comedic elements of the Meg because those are more just small like there's small moments of levity within those films, whereas this like it's throughout the whole movie. Um, and so I just don't think there's going to be that much room to breathe for the premise to really um, be given its time of day, and I just wish that it would have gone or at least played it more straight than it seems it is. Because even with the premise, I don't think like the premise alone would have like helped as much. Because like even if the premise, like I said, was just them going to go film like a snake movie, and then it turns out there is an actual snake in the Amazon, I think it would have been fine. But since it has the elements of they're specifically remaking the '97 movie on top of just the whole comedic tone they're going with, I just don't like it. I don't like it for what like I just don't like it. You know, what can I say? Like I genuinely just did not like what the film turned out to be. And I'm still definitely going to go watch it. I am going to definitely give it a fair shake, but I'm just going to be like overall, I'm just disappointed with what it was had become. Um, the original '97, I think. I think it's just a good film, and I think if it deserves like a genuine remake because it was sort of like I want to say it was like the Jaws of snake movies, in that it was. I don't know if it was the first of its kind, but it definitely was like the most popular snake movie out there, and like I'm remiss to think that or like I don't think there was anything else really before that was as much as a big name, or they even created a franchise in the first place. Because like after the second movie, I think is when they started doing direct to DVD type films. I remember someone compared like Blood Orchid to the Sci-Fi Channel movies, but I think Offspring is when that really started to go down, and so what I think like differentiates like especially the original from that is that like there's genuine filmmaking and production value in that film, and even the first two movies like it's like a genuine creature feature, whereas I don't think there's just enough um, after the fact to really bring home that same kind of effect with the third movie and onward. Because, but even then, like, I wouldn't even compare, because I don't even know if it was official. I doubt it really was, but like, you can't like copyright a snake species. But there's a whole crossover with Lake Placid, which is a whole another thing to talk about. But there was the Lake Placid versus Anaconda, which is a weird title, as I think many have pointed out before, since it implies that the anacondas are fighting the lake. But you sort of have to have the name in there because there's already, I think, like a mega snake versus mega croc or something. Even maybe there wasn't or there wasn't, but um, because even then there's a whole genre. There's like sci-fi channel asylum movies that are just versus movies of different animal species that are big for some reason or the other. And there's like like I think like it's that is closer in line to I don't know. It could be one way or the other. It's either closer to the original or you're closer to this film. And the other reason I really wanted to make this stream happen is just that like I just had this need to speak out and maybe a chance to talk with any of my friends if they can make it on. But yeah, let me know anyone in the audience. And actually, I think just for having something to watch here, let's watch the original 1997, I believe. Yep. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. There you go. We're just gonna watch the. And again, let me know anyone in the comments what they've been thinking so far of the trailer we watched. Oh, let's see here.
Hi,
Hello,
just here.
Godzilla 2005. I can hear
Mm-hmm.
you well.
Alright, I can hear you well too.
How are things going?
Good.
Pleasure to have you on. I believe it's your first time on my channel. I know you've been on, I believe,
Sea
Zim
Monsters
as
and
well.
Zoomzillas.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen you around. Pleasure to have you as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, of course, I'm currently talking about the new Anaconda movie. If you have any thoughts you want to share since you did come on about it
Uh,
and or the franchise in general, let me know.
okay, about Anaconda. Well, I'm not really the biggest fan of cheap sci-fi movie crap, but the first two movies were released in theaters, so I will give my thoughts on those. The first Anaconda is a fun movie. It's not a masterpiece, but it's definitely a movie that I can watch just for the sake of it. Second movie is not as good, and the other ones
Mm.
are easily disposable.
Yeah, I would say I have a more similar opinion to you, cause like I want to say definitely the first movie is like the best of the bunch. Um, it was again the first two films were released in theaters, and then the rest I think were like direct to DVD. Um, like I want to maybe say slop, but I guess that might be just the best term to use because they definitely dipped in quality.
Yeah,
And as I mentioned before you came on, they did cross over with the Lake
Lake
Placid
Placid
franchise.
series, which
Yeah.
ironically also had a first movie where it was to straight to theaters.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Yeah.
I wonder
So
when are they gonna make a new movie?
yeah, I mean, because like Lake Placid is definitely like a household name in terms of creature features, and I mean,
Well,
there's been new crocodile movies. Like we had Crawl a few years ago,
yeah.
and maybe one or like nothing comes to mind. But if you were gonna say something,
Oh, Oh no, never mind. I wasn't gonna say anything.
Yeah, but let's see. Do you have any opinion on how they're remaking the new one?
Well, it's comedy horror, and it's from the synopsis. They are two best friends go to the Amazon to remake their favorite movie, Anaconda, and but then they eventually meet an actual anaconda and are being attacked by it. And from the looks of it, I don't think that was the right choice to go with that movie. And not only that, they spoiled the entire darn thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree that I don't think the approach was the best one. I definitely don't like it, and I was disappointed when I first learned of the premise. Um, and I feel like with creature features like this, they should be either like one off original things and not something that has like a big legacy as much as like, even if it's like a niche legacy of the Anaconda franchise. I mean, like none of the other movies, as low quality as they were, never had any sort of overly comedic elements like this movie does.
Yeah, but then again, that's a problem with so many other franchises. The first movie
Mm-hmm.
does so well, or at least the first movie, game, novel, and TV show does so well, they greenlight a sequel, and then dozens of more later on before getting
Yeah,
rebooted again and again and again.
yeah, that's definitely true. Like like a weird trend you tend to see is you have the first movie that does well and that is universally like liked more or less, and then you have the second movie which is either hit or miss. It's either good or it's bad enough that it almost kills the franchise. And then you have the third movie, which it all goes downhill from there.
Yeah, and then the fourth movie is just absolute dog crap.
Yeah, yeah, that's the trend you tend to see, and I would say
Hmm.
it's definitely
Now,
true. Something like that happened with Anaconda.
yeah, now not all franchises have this problem. There are trilogies out there that are beloved
Mm-hmm.
before they unnecessarily get a fourth movie.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
then of course you eventually you get to the reboot, like you mentioned. You get to the reboot that either people think, oh, it's going entirely the wrong direction, or sometimes they might do good, but it still gets like uh, sometimes forgotten, or sometimes it just doesn't really go anywhere. Like the Power Rangers movie from like I think 2017 or something like that. It never really went anywhere, and things like that kind of thing. So I'm wondering what this film is gonna end up being at the end of the day.
Hmm. I do want to know who else could be joining this stream.
Well, I'm sure you saw. I did send the invite in the Zim Discord, so anyone there who might want to join is more than welcome to.
Okay,
Da, 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 da. So hopefully we see more people coming on.
all right.
Yeah. But let's see. And then I was gonna show and share my screen because we were gonna look at the original Anaconda trailer. I have
Yeah.
it on mute, so feel free to talk over some of the scenes going on. I'll pause it throughout, but
Hmm.
yeah. So I did mention that like the premise is almost somewhat similar in
Yeah.
that it's like you have a film crew going into the jungle and they find a big snake. So with
Yeah.
that, it's already kind of similar.
Yeah. With
Um,
one big major difference. The in the first movie, they they want to film a documentary to find a hidden tribe that lives deep in the Amazon jungle. While in the new one, they want to remake this very specific movie. But then,
Yeah.
of course, the one similar thing that happens in them is that they get attacked by giant snakes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I don't know if you're into paleontology, but some people who watch these movies believes that the anacondas in this franchise are not really anacondas, but are actual prehistoric snakes like Titanoboa or Gigantophis or others. And to be fair, Titanoboa wasn't discovered when this movie was made until 2009.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like a few less than maybe a decade since the movie came out, and then the famous Titanoboa was discovered, um, and like
Yeah.
there's technically the thing that like technically anacondas are a type of boa. I
Yeah.
forget if it's like how either like all tortoises are turtles, but not all tortoises are, or not all turtles are tortoises. Things like something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it is an interesting thing to discuss because there's also, like I mentioned before, you have the Anaconda franchise. You also have the Boa franchise, and then there's the Python franchise, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And like there was a film. Hmm.
Three three horror movies about three of the largest snakes.
Yeah,
You were gonna say?
yeah. I was gonna say it's because there also was the movie Boa versus Python, um, which is
The crossover.
yeah, it is what it is, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but like I said, this one is like your classic '90s creature feature that's played straight.
Yeah.
There's
In the
there's
same
no like
vein,
overt. Yeah,
yeah, in the same vein as Lake Placid, Deep Blue Sea, and Godzilla 1998.
yeah, and they may be like more. Some have more moments of levity than the others. Some are more campy than the others. But you know that's not to say that no creature feature really has some moments of levity. Because like if you think back to the start where you have Jurassic Park, um,
Yeah.
it's not as dark as the novel. There's moments of levity. There's some jokes, but you still have that like PG-13, but it's still like
Yeah.
horror. You have some levels of gore, with dismembered body
Yeah.
parts, things like that. Um,
Honestly, I would like for a TV remake, a TV adaptation of Jurassic Park to be more faithful to the novel. Honestly.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
that would be interesting. I know people have been asking for something like that for the longest time, and uh, like I don't think Jurassic Park is as gruesome as Anaconda. Anaconda has some
Well,
of its moments.
wait. What do you mean by Jurassic Park? Like the novel or the movie? Because
Oh, the movie.
oh yeah,
Um,
because the novel is more gruesome than the others.
yeah.
Like wanna, I don't want you to get demonetized, but if you know what I mean, then it it's very traumatizing for a lot of people, especially for those thinking they were gonna read a simple dinosaur story.
Yeah. And I remember not too long ago there was a big uproar on Twitter of fans who wanted the baby scene from the novel to be adapted eventually.
Oh,
I think even the Gaming Beaver talked about it, which is funny.
yeah, he did.
Hmm.
You want to know
I mean,
another
yeah.
creature feature franchise that started as the novels, but then got adapted into the big screen, but were vastly different and were less and were more for a general audience than the novels. You want to know what that franchise is?
What was that?
The Meg series.
Ah, okay, interesting.
Yeah, the first two Meg movies are based on a novel franchise. And while the movies are more lighthearted and have Jason Statham in them, the novels are also very gruesome, especially
Mm-hmm.
with especially with how the T-Rex scene in the novel is very different from the second movie's own T-Rex scene. And certain characters have very also gruesome detailed death scenes, and and also the megalodon is killed in a different way, where the main character actually stabs it with a megalodon fossilized tooth.
Mm-hmm.
hmm That's how much. That's how different the movies are compared to the novels.
Yeah, I knew that they were based on novels. I believe by either Steve Allen or Steve Alton.
Yes, that's his name.
Yeah. And I remember when OmniViewer did his review, he mentioned how there were like more than a few differences with the films, both in some tone and like specific scenes. I know that the original film, like the Asian characters were specifically, I think, Japanese, whereas
Ye-
in the films they were changed to Chinese.
Oh, that's exactly right. Hollywood was very interested in pleasing to Chinese audiences. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of the movie having the uh, the having Japanese characters in them, they have Chinese characters in them.
Yeah.
The thing is, the Megan movie was actually in development hell for a long time. It was so, going to be made much earlier, but countless delays forced it to be released in a time that was much different from
Uh,
the
just
90s
in
and
case you
novels. I
did
mean,
cut out
90s and
there
2000s.
for a
Wait, what?
second, I currently can't hear you if you're speaking or anything like that,
Oh,
and or my stream might be crashing. So
oh,
forgive that if that happens.
oh,
Let's
okay.
see. Let me know if you can hear me right now.
Okay.
I'll try muting and unmuting right now. Well, let me know if you can hear me. And keep trying to speak, as I currently can't hear you. Typical technical difficulties.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear you again.
Uh, all right then. So, yeah.
What were you saying before?
Um, well, the Meg movie was in development hell.
Ah,
Yeah, it was supposed to be made earlier, but because of countless delays, it was released in a time much different than the 90s and 2000s.
okay. I hadn't heard of that detail of the movie. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty common thing. I feel like among some like creature feature movies, monster movies, things like that. I know there's like lots of famous stories about monster movies being in development hell and just having a rough production timeline.
Yeah.
I don't know much about specifically Anaconda, but of course everyone knows Godzilla '98 was in development hell for the longest while.
Yeah,
Um,
because even before Sony acquired the rights to the franchise.
mm-hmm. Yep, even before then. And then like another aspect I want to get your thoughts on is, of course, it seems that the new Anaconda movie is going to have a snake. It looks like it's going to be entirely CGI, where of course the original film had what I think is like an excellent practical effect for the snake.
Yeah,
What do you think about that?
that's another problem I have with modern Hollywood movies. They're too over reliant on CGI, and I don't know why, because in the 90s and even 2000s there was a great mix of CGI and practical effects that made things look more believable. It's very frustrating to see the Anaconda franchise now fall into the same missteps the Jurassic Park franchise has been in, where where the Jurassic Park franchise was back then known for its great use of CGI and practical effects. The World movies abandoned that and have been completely CGI slop. And while Dominion tried to do the same thing the original trilogy did, it was already too late. And then Rebirth seemed to go back to Jurassic World basics. And from the looks of it, they're doing the same thing with Anaconda. Oh, and they also did the same thing with Jumanji. The original Jumanji movie also had great use of CGI and practical effects, even if admittedly the CGI does look dated in that movie. But the newer ones, do look kind of ugly to me, honestly.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I've seen both the original Jumanji as well as the first reboot film. I believe it was just Jumanji. Um,
Actually,
I forget if it was called.
uh, the the newer Jumanji movies are actually supposed to be sequels to the original, just standalone.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
they could also be reboots at the same time.
yeah. I think it's just whatever definition you have. I know there's like remakes, reboots. I call this one like a. I believe it was first coined by Cinemassacre, the AVGN angry video game nerd guy. He called this kind of film like a name make, where they take the name and then make like a whole almost different movie that has nothing really to do with the
Oh
original.
yeah, that's exactly what recently happened with War of the Worlds. That the one that starred Ice Cube wasn't really a reboot or
Yeah,
remake of the previous War of the Worlds projects. It was a name make. It was only interested in the title of the IP and nothing more and nothing less. That's also Godzilla 1998 in a nutshell. It's a name make. It's not a reboot. It's just a name make. They because the movie is so different to other Godzilla reboots.
yeah. I mean, definitely with War of the Worlds, it's probably in a similar vein to Godzilla 1998. Because with War of the Worlds, especially, I think like it just changes so much. And like it's funny. It's funny to mention like War of the Worlds 2025 because the original Anaconda starred Ice Cube as well, and like it's just interesting. Like it's just an interesting connection, given how Ice Cube like starred in he's starring in this 2025 movie of a classic, and then there's this other new remake of a classic that he starred in. So that's
Yeah,
like just interesting to point out.
so funny.
Yeah, but like yeah, it's just like this whole culture of like using established names to remake something new. Um but yeah, like I said, like the direction it's taking the and like I mentioned before, like I'm not even mad that Jack Black or Paul Rudd is in it because I mentioned like Jack Black was in King Kong 2005
Yeah,
and
that
that film
was.
was played straight. There's not
And
not that much
that's
comedy in that one.
that's actually one of his better roles for a guy who's only known to do comedy. Jack Black actually wasn't bad in Peter Jackson's King Kong. He was pretty good
Hmm.
for that movie's own version of Carl Denham.
Yeah, and like I don't know if Paul Rudd has been in any other like kind of like serious creature features. But I saw one of his latest films, Death of a Unicorn. That one's pretty good. It's a little more comedic at times, or maybe satirical is the right word for it. But I did like that movie, and I thought he did pretty well in it. Um, but I don't think either of the movies they had started before are near where this one is looking to be.
Yeah, this one's full on comedy.
Yeah, and then like I know you mentioned like sloppy sci-fi channel movies and things like that, which
Yeah,
this one feels like just like a high budget version of that.
yeah, that's
Um,
true. It does feel like that, but with a bigger budget.
Yeah. So then, yeah, we had like a brief look um at the trailer there after we were talking. Um, and as you can see, let me see. I'm gonna pull up this one as well just to watch. But here's just a little scene, and you have the amazing practical snake there.
Yeah, right there.
Mm, yeah. And- But that's not to say that like CGI can't be good as well.
That's
Like
true.
this just feels amazing. It feels real. But with CGI, because look at like this scene right here.
Yeah, not
Like that's a CGI snake, and that looks good. Like that's a good shot. But it's like that blend of both practical and CGI where you get the best of both worlds.
yeah. That's what. Oh, sorry, I was yawning. That's
You're
what
good.
a lot of old movies back then got very well when CGI was still in its infancy. They
Mm.
they blended them together to the point it actually makes you wonder if they did film something like that. Like if something like that was in front of the camera. But nowadays you can easily tell that something is not in the camera. It's just a digital model just moving.
Yeah, very true. Because like CGI, the best CGI is always the ones that have the most care put into them. But nowadays, like just look at the Marvel movies, to where they never have a finished script, they never have a finished plan. They do it all after the fact, and you don't get the best of what CGI can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like I think if you rely on it too much, it becomes a crutch, and then it starts to show.
It sure does.
Yeah. And then let's see, was there anything like new that you want to probably discuss? Doesn't have to be related to Anaconda or anything like that, but I guess maybe
Mm.
as we wait for more people to show up, if you want to talk about anything else going on, since this is also the variety hour, so we can talk about pretty much anything.
Okay, let me see. Um, um, what are your thoughts on the Polygon trilogy of Godzilla from Netflix?
When it comes to the Polygon trilogy, I mean, I think I've only ever watched each of the movies like one or two times when they first came out. There were some things I liked about it, um, but overall they were just sort of like I never really I never liked them enough to say, oh, I think these movies are good, or I never really liked them enough to really defend any criticisms people might have of it. But there were
Mm,
some things I liked that I think that I just wish they went more with.
me too. And while I while I do have some positives towards those movies, whereas back then I didn't have a lot of them, I still really hate those movies. I really do. Like
Hmm.
I It's Godzilla's first anime adaptation, and they blew it up. And you want to know what makes this worse?
Yeah.
The second attempt to make another Godzilla anime failed as well, with Singular
Hmm.
Point, not learning anything from the Polygon trilogy. And if anything, they make themselves even more confusing. At least with America, they did learn their lesson from 1998 and made G14, which well, it does look like Godzilla, even if they did remove his most important aspect of the character, his origin. But at least it
uh,
was still much more Godzilla than Roland Emmerich's Zilla. But they didn't do that here with the Godzilla animes. Just don't get it. I will say though, I know this might make you angry, Kaijunaut, because I do know you love this movie, but I don't think the Polygon trilogy is as terrible as GXK.
hmm. All right. So, like, you think like the Polygon is better than GXK then?
Yeah,
That's fair.
because here's a hot take. I actually think GXK is not just the worst MonsterVerse movie, or the worst Godzilla movie, or the worst King Kong movie. I think it's the worst kaiju movie in general.
Mm. Yeah, that's a pretty strong opinion.
Yeah.
But I think like it doesn't make me mad to hear someone say that. Like, I said, we can definitely talk more about it, but I would have to rewatch the Polygon movies and then maybe do a rewatch of GXK to get my own formed opinion. I will definitely say I do like GXK more, and I actually like Singular Point more for similar reasons in that I like the action and characters more than I do of what I remember from the Polygon trilogy. I never really found myself attached to any certain characters in those movies, whereas I did with both Singular Point and GXK, as well as the action overall and the monster moments. I think they're done better. Um, but like if you want to discuss more about that, I'm happy to do so. But like that's just my take on it.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. I can understand. But to me, I think it's because I think there was a little bit more passion for the human characters and some other stuff, other interesting things that could have been a lot more explored in the Polygon trilogy. Well, to me, there was nothing interesting in GXK. It was just a Kong
Mm.
movie, and even though I don't hate Kong, I do like several Kong movies. I just don't didn't like how it was just a full on focused on Kong and not a Godzilla and Kong movie.
Yeah, I say that's fair to say because I can definitely acknowledge that a lot more thought was put into the characters of the Polygon trilogy. Like I think they wanted to do more with those characters than like Wingard wanted to do with his. Um, I would I'll have to rewatch it to see how well I think that was accomplished with the Polygon characters. Um, but yeah, I'd say that's fair. And then with like Kong taking the spotlight of both the Wingard films, I'm like, yeah, that is true. He does take more spotlight. Um, which I wish like maybe they could have done more with Godzilla, since in both films, Kong is one of the main driving points of them. So it's fair. I think it's a fair point of criticism that people can have, a fair opinion as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then actually, forgive me because I don't quite remember everything you said, but I did happen to watch your recent video that you did. Um,
What I don't like
uh,
about the MonsterVerse and Reiwa era?
yeah, I did watch a little bit of it. I don't remember everything you said, but um, if you want, I can give you the opportunity to, you know, what's the word? Just go more in depth with anything you think, um, or anything you said there that you want to either clarify or expand on.
Well, that's part one. Part two is gonna go into the other movies, and then part three will be my big rant on GXK, of course. But I, as for some of the movies, especially for the Polygon trilogy, I hated the fact that they mismarketed us that Godzilla Earth, the tallest iteration of Godzilla, was gonna fight the tallest iteration of Mecha Godzilla and the tallest iteration of King Ghidorah, only to then just not really have that, and then Godzilla just fights the city, and then Godzilla is getting bitten by three noodles that they like to call Ghidorah.
Mhm.
I think one reason why I hate that is not just because it was mismarketed, but in animation, you have no limits. A lot of Godzilla movies feel limited because they're only restrained to the real world. And this is no disrespect to both Summation and CGI, of course, but because those movies are tend to be more realistic, they can't do anything crazy, and because they're limited to our own world's logic. But with animation, those limitations don't exist. They shouldn't exist. They should be able to give us a full-on fledged new creative fight between Godzilla and Mechagodzilla and of course Ghidorah. But they didn't. They just decided to be too different for the sake of it and felt less Godzilla and more freaking Evangelion or Attack on Titan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Because like I'm a true believer in that. Like the only limits in animation is the money to pay the people to draw it, and then just like how much of your body can handle it.
I
Because like
guess so.
there's a lot you can do with animation. Like my favorite thing in the world is 2D animation. I love 2D animation.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's really good. Um, and I think like ironically maybe is like Godzilla the series is still I think one of the best animated things so far because
Uh,
like that show did a lot. Like there's alien invasions, monster
yeah.
attacks, things like that that it does really well.
Yeah, it does feel like a perfect series. It is an almost near perfect. It is a near perfect
Mm-hmm.
series for me. I just wish it's just that it's a sequel to the 1998 Godzilla, so it's still not completely Godzilla. It's Zilla Junior, and the other monsters are just also their own OCs, and not. If this was a if this was a real Godzilla, if this had the real Godzilla and other Toho monsters, I would give it a 10 out of 10. But I am
Mm-hmm.
I am fine with what we got. Either way.
Yeah, and like the thing is that like I think you could have had like that perfect show you wanted, or you think '98 could be, um, if like because I think the problem with Singular Point is that there's so much science stuff that it gets in the way of like the overall storytelling, and like it expects the audience to like catch up and like understand all the concepts, um, but it doesn't really give us time to breathe or really understand those concepts.
Yeah. You want to know
Yeah.
the worst? Well, not really worst thing, but an annoying thing is that I hear Polygon Trilogy defenders and also Singular Point defenders say that we only hate those stuff because it's there's no monster fights in them. We just want the same thing over and over and over again. When that's not true. They mostly either never watched the videos we we made and are just jumping to conclusions and thinking that we just hate it for the sake of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like fighting and stuff is one thing. I think what's important is that you have like well-rounded characters that provide something to the story, as well as a story that's both compelling but also easily digestible. That way, it just has more reach. Because like honestly, a lot of the characters in Singular Point, like the only thing going for them really is just their design. Like I like a lot of the Singular Point character designs, but I couldn't really tell you much about them. You know?
Yeah, that's about it. And despite the fact that minus one showing us a solo Godzilla movie, that it wasn't the lack of monster action that was the problem. It was the lack of emotional storytelling that was the problem. They still cling on to these defenses even with that movie being released.
Yeah, that is kind of true. Because like with minus one, since that is what people like
We're
somewhat
expecting it to
objectively
be.
say. Yeah, like in a way, it's like it's an example of how you can have a monster story that doesn't rely on just the monster action alone. It offers new perspectives with the characters and how it connects Godzilla to those characters' wants and character arcs. I think it's like one of the most perfect examples of how you do those kinds of movies.
Yeah. To me, we finally got the perfect modern retake of the original Godzilla. Now, for me, at least, we need the perfect um versus Godzilla movie to me, because I still feel like we don't have that yet.
What would you say is like the closest we've gotten to that?
Um, King of the Monsters, that, but even then, I still really felt that was a lot of wasted potential in that film. For like what I would consider a near perfect, a good, a near perfect versus film is Godzilla fights another monster. It's a Toho monster, and but it's a new setting. It's with more bigger budgets and
Hmm.
more big name actors, and they're fighting across the world. That's something KOTM almost seemed like to me before. It was more of the same issues with G14. Other than that, and then the next movies decided to just do their own thing, I guess. And yeah,
Yeah, like personally for me, what I think is this is just like it's an almost perfect thing, or the perfect example of that is honestly G14. The only reason I say it isn't is because I mentioned this in my stream I did, comparing both 2014 and Godzilla 98, and like my claim was that 98 is able to better establish Godzilla as a character, um, because it understands the rule of like reserving the monster while still having scenes where he appears, but it's off screen, or it better establishes the character's presence. The thing with
true.
2014 is that like Godzilla shows up, like really still shows up an hour in, and then it cuts away again and again.
Yeah,
Yeah, if it had, like for example, like I think Godzilla would be 2014 would be almost perfect if it had kept the airport scene, and we saw the fight, because then you still have some setup with Godzilla, you still have setup with the Mutos, and you get the payoff of seeing them fight for the first time, um, and then you have the rest of the movie to escalate to the final fight, where you have like
yeah,
the 2v1, um, and that. But because it cuts away, we just have Godzilla. We just follow Godzilla, and then we have the Mito scenes, which are cool. But it's a film called Godzilla, and you don't get that much of him in the first like 2/3 of the film.
yeah. I hope Supernova is that movie I'm wanting for. I hope. I hope the main villain is either Space Godzilla or Gigan. I don't care if it's either one of them. I just don't want another new monster. I'm sick and tired of them. I do not like
Mm,
most Monsterverse original creature designs and their characterizations. They just feel bland to me. I guess the only exception is maybe the KOTM Titans, but we only got a few of them, and that's about it. And even
yeah,
and even then, some of the other unseen ones seem more interesting because we just didn't see them yet. So it's
yeah,
up for our own fan designs to interpret what they might look like.
yeah. Actually, speaking of that, like, what do you think of the Methuselah situation right now?
It's honestly kind of sad. It's Methuselah isn't one of my favorites, but it is kind of sad because I know he does have his own fans, and it is a shame that some weirdo loser decided to sue Legendary because of their monster looking like his, even though there's a bunch of other mountain like creatures in media. In fact, for by that logic, shouldn't like Nintendo sue his mountain like creature for resembling some of their mountain based Pokemon? But but then eventually Legendary gave up Methuselah because even they didn't care about him, so they just gave up and won to him. And even though that guy has been arrested, he Methuselah's still gone. It is kind of a shame. I do hope
Yeah,
he does return, but with a much better design, that's for sure.
yeah. I definitely think they can take advantage of the fact because I think if you looked at the model of the King of the Monsters, Methuselah, I don't think it was even like finished or fleshed out. Like we only ever saw the head and like the back, but you can change a lot of the design, like even now, because a lot of it is just like not even finished or textured. So you can probably bring Methuselah back with like a new revamped design.
Yeah, maybe he's a gigantic minotaur-like creature.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. Or you can do something where you switch up the, because there's like that, what was that, like Ice Age creature that's like an armadillo turtle thing that has like a, I don't know what it's called,
Glyptodon.
but you can, oh yeah, one of those, or like an ankylosaurus kind of thing. That would be pretty neat to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, like yeah, it would be pretty neat because I think I want to say there's like a small resurgence of creature feature movies, because of course you have like the kaiju movies of like the MonsterVerse. You had Pacific Rim, but that kind of fell through, and then you have like films like Colossal, Underwater, the Meg movies, things like that, and then you have, I think you have some smaller budget creature feature things too,
Yeah.
like you had Cocaine Bear, you had Crawl, you had things like that, and some are interesting, some more than others. Some most typically go with the whole CGI route. Some have some mix of practical things,
Yep.
um, which I hope we see more of that with
Mhm.
what is looking to be a small little boom in the creature feature genre.
Yep.
Like, would you want to see any more? Like, is there any remake you would really want to see, or any reboot of any certain like monster or creature franchise?
Oh, I know one. Gamera.
Ah,
I know
yeah,
Gamera Rebirth was released recently, but I don't think it did well. I would really, really love for Gamera to be rebooted in the modern day. Whether it's from the Monsterverse or not, the big turtle does need some new love and not just seen as a freaking Godzilla ripoff. Or Godzilla in a turtle shell. Or a turtle Godzilla like some casuals would call him.
yeah, yeah. Gamera would definitely be. I would really want to see a new movie, whether it
Yeah.
be whether it be Japan, um, or
Or the
like a
West.
nice, yeah, or the West. Like I think Legendary would benefit in some ways, or I would be optimistic in thinking Legendary would benefit from having like a separate reboot universe for Gamera.
Yeah.
Since like I have always been the proponent of the idea that Gamera could work in the MonsterVerse. But I think it would be better to try to do its own thing and have its own universe. Because like Legendary technically has the MonsterVerse and then Pacific Rim in its own universe. So I think they can do good with the Gamera universe as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still no people joining in.
Yeah, nothing seems to pop up. I know that sometimes I know school just started for some of them. I know
Well,
Minecraft has like college.
mhm.
Um, Zim 2 plus work. And this was kind of just like a spur of the moment kind of stream. So feel free to, if you have anything more you want to say or discuss, feel free to do so. I might stay on for maybe just a little bit more. If anyone wants to come, you're more than welcome to either wait or leave and come back if you want. But like the floor is yours if you want to discuss anything.
Okay. Let me think of one more thing I would like to discuss about. Hmm. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on the new casting the new cast of GXK Supernova replacing majority of Team Kong's cast.
Yeah, I am I'm a little sad that we're not going to be seeing. I don't think we're going to be seeing Gia or Eileen. Though I
Yeah.
do think you can easily explain it as them being just with the Iwi people, since the end of the last one implied they were staying there. And then you
Hmm.
have the new characters, which I look forward to seeing.
Yeah.
I've seen a few of the cast members' filmography in the past, especially I think Caitlin Devers is her name,
Yeah.
the
But
main actress.
well, wait. Well, wait. I don't think the movie really implied that because if that were the case, Trapper wouldn't be returning in Supernova, but he is, and he was with Bernie, Eli, and Andrews, and Gia down there, but he's returning in the new one. So I don't know about that one.
Um, Because, like, at the end of the movie, it's sort of implied because Eileen, Bernie, and Gia all hug Trapper. And, like, I think the implication definitely was that, like, Trapper was going to head up back to the surface. And then the rest of them were staying. Um, so that's just from the movie. I believe the novel says that Trapper is the only one who goes back to the surface. And the rest of them stay. So there's also
Ah.
that.
Well, at least there is an explanation why they won't be returning. Unlike certain other characters in the MonsterVerse, like makes no sense that Ford, Ellie, or Ellie Ellie Brody, I think that's her name,
Mm-hmm.
Elle Brody, played by Elizabeth Olsen, and Sam Brody, and wouldn't return in KOTM, and how some of the other KOTM characters wouldn't be like Elaine Chan or Rick and Sam wouldn't be returning in GVK, or how Madison, Mark, and Nathan Lynn wouldn't be returning in GXK. I think that's a big problem I do have with the MonsterVerse because aside from Kong Skull Island, since because that movie takes place in the 70s and most of the characters would be dead by the other MonsterVerse movies or simply at old age, it makes no sense
Mm-hmm.
that the MonsterVerse has no recurring characters only other than for two movies, and that's about it. And then they disappear with no
Yeah.
explanation.
Yeah, that is very true, and it's a sad thing because I know there are some characters who are fan favorites who eventually just end up not returning.
Yeah, even
Um,
Ford Brody is
mm-hmm.
getting a more being more liked by the community nowadays and want to see him return. But they forget that Aaron Taylor Johnson said in an interview that he doesn't care about big franchises like Godzilla and the Avengers.
Yeah, that is true. Um, I think even then the director probably could have done more with him because I know he also said that like he didn't know what to do with Joe Brody, which is why he decided to kill him. So I think they probably could have done way more if they decided to flesh out both their characters after the first act. And then of course, like I'm a huge fan of Madison Russell. Like I like her character in both King of the Monsters and in GVK. I do also like. I did end up liking Eileen and Gia a lot. So I wish they would have come back. But again, I think it's reasonable as to why they have their own explanation.
Still,
I
it's
think Mark Russell they could have done more with his character.
yeah. The thing is, though, is that with every other franchise, there's at least a recurring character that people can follow through, whether they like them or
Mm-hmm.
not. They always return for the next movie, but because people only care about the monsters in the MonsterVerse, no one cares about the other characters, and they'll be neglected after two movies.
I think it's both fair to say that, but also I think it makes sense that the monsters being the main focus, like they're the top billing, the title is Godzilla or Kong. So it makes sense that like they could be like the main thing that people come for. And so of course you're gonna see more of them.
Well, then
But I
that.
think it is important that they have a human character that the audience can, um, see progress through the movie. Like I think Sarazawa was the perfect character for that. So it
Yeah,
was
let me.
weird to see him killed off in the second movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you are right. Well, only time will tell when we do get that movie that does have recurring characters like Mickey from the Heisei era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very true. I mean, that's one thing you can give credit for the Heisei movies where you have like one or a few characters that like stay on for the whole thing. And actually, I believe I did meet the actress for Miki Sagusa. I believe
M-
is her name, right?
Megumi Doka, right? That's the actress's
Yeah.
name. Hmm.
Yes, I did meet the actress for her at a convention. I think the other year or earlier this
Uh,
year.
G Fest?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. I think I'll be heading off for now.
Alrighty, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
I might go on. Yeah, I might go on for a little bit. As I said, you can come back if like anyone else joins in. But if you have anything to shill out or shill or recommend or say anything about your channel, feel free to. You have the floor.
Okay. All right. See you later. Bye.
No, peace out, man. Alrighty, so yeah, that was the first time guest Godzilla 2005. Thank you again for coming on. Like I said, I'll probably be keeping on the stream for a little bit longer. There are a few things I might want to go over. Bring it back to Anaconda. Like I discussed, there are some disappointments I have with the film coming up. I wish it had stayed in tone with the original film. Um, it just has a pretty long legacy, both on its own as well as with its overall franchise. When it comes to Anaconda, Um, it was somewhat of a trailblazer for all like snake movies, creature features, things like that. You have its imitators. Like I said, I think it really was the Jaws of the snake genre, if you want to call it that. But yeah, like it just did a lot of things. You have its copycats, the Boa franchise, the Python franchise, and then you have all the other ones where snake invasion movies where you just have regular snakes, but they're a problem like snakes on a plane and then snakes on anything else. But with Anaconda, like I said, it's just a franchise where you have this sort of legacy to it, to where it's just like this creature feature that it was never really taken as a comedy. It was never taken as like anything that was too goofy or anything like that. And now with this new movie, you have that meta concept that's going on with it. You have the comedic tone that's taking it over, and I'm just personally disappointed in it. And I think it's a pretty sad way to see the franchise go. Like you just never really want franchises to really take this too big a turn, and like it's just sad to see. Like I don't even think the Wingard films are comparable because I will defend the fact that the tone of that franchise was progressively more um there's more of a progressive change movie to movie. um like the tones with 2014 and Kong Skull Island are I think a good just example of that, where you have like this 70s laid back um attitude towards it that was not really present with Godzilla 2014. That one was a more down to earth, grounded take on what monster movies are. And so, as the films went along, they got progressively more. They got more fantastical, more lighthearted, with moments of levity and comedy throughout, but never really reaching a tone where it was just silly or goofy. I think all the movies you can say with the MonsterVerse play it straight to a degree that are never too self-referential, too comedic to the point where you have a man running with a dead warthog on his back, chased by a giant anaconda. And so, like, it's just, I think it's too much of a drastic turn to what Anaconda was, and maybe there's enough of a gap between the last movie and that franchise, I guess you can say, to this one, to maybe the turn makes sense. But yeah, at the end of the day, personally, I just don't like what the franchise has become now. I am gonna give it a fair shake. I am gonna go into it optimistically, but similar to how I view either the third Alien movie, similar to how I view Prometheus, I'm gonna have to disassociate it from what the franchise is and view it on its own. I'm gonna I'm gonna try to see what the director wanted probably with this one and see how well he executed that. As I mean, there were a few moments in the new trailer or two where I did have a little chuckle. I did, enjoy what I was seeing. But again, I have to disassociate it from what Anaconda was. And that's the approach I am going to go into it going forward. And when I watch the film, I'll probably give my thoughts here. I mean, maybe if someone like Sea Monster decides to do a stream on it, I'll join him for that as well, as always. Shout out to Sea Monster Essays. He is going to be doing a Mimic stream on Saturday, and I will hopefully be joining him. And then, as promised, I'm going to be reaching out to my friend Lee Joyner, who worked on the film, to see if he might want to be involved somehow with that. But, yeah, it is what it is. Speaking of Mimic, some brief thoughts I want to say for that movie is that I think that as well is a really good classic creature feature. I want to say it had also came out in '97, which I think that year was actually a pretty good one for creature features. I think there's a lot that came out that year. And then like you get to '99. I'll have to double check if there's anything in '99, but I think coming out of Lee Joyner's mouth as well, like Godzilla '98 was probably one of the last of the big creature features to come out for that like small decade. With that time in between, like I'm sure there's probably more to it than just these films, but like maybe it starts with 93, where we have Jurassic Park, and then it ends with Godzilla 1998, where you have that span of time where creature features were everywhere. Just to name off a few, you had Cobra, Komodo, you had the Relic, you had what else was there? Of course, you have the mentioned Mimic. You had the Jurassic Park movies. You had Carnosaur, which I think that actually came out before Jurassic Park. Now that I think about it, maybe I know the book definitely came out before Jurassic Park. I want to say, and then you have just all the slew of just the lower budget, small niche films. Like you have like I think DNA. You have what was it? I think Mosquito was the '80s. I'll have to double check that, but like I was saying, like the '90s was just the best year for creature features, and you're seeing a small boom come back with some of that. But maybe it's not so much of a boom as much as like a small resurgence in like just the films that are coming out. Like you had like again Pacific Rim, you had the Meg movies, Underwater, Crawl, you had there's just some other ones. I'm just listing off a different name. Of course, you had the MonsterVerse, the resurgence of Godzilla, amongst other kaiju genre films. Which honestly, kaiju genre films never really went away. It's just there was never much of a focus on them to where you had relatively bigger budget things like Minus One, Shin Godzilla, things like that. You had a bunch of the underground things like the Raigo movies, a lot of those different underground, low budget ones that are more classic tokusatsu. You always had like the Super Sentai franchise that never went away as well. Yeah, new things every year coming out with that. Um, But yeah, I mean, like, who'd have thought that the notion of an Anaconda remake or reboot would even happen nowadays? I mean, um, as like Godzilla 2005 mentioned, like that we talked about, there's Lake Placid. Like, I, I mean, I would hope. I again similar with Anaconda. I would hope Lake Placid would either get a reboot or remake that is in the same vein as the original. And like again, like it's there's this line to where I think it's misinterpreted as tonal conflict, but you have the aspect of horror, camp, and levity that I think can make a great creature feature. I mean, heck, actually, you have the 1990, I believe, movie Tremors, and I love Tremors. It's like my second favorite film of all time. Um, it just rides this line of just having comedy, um, both horror and thrills that and suspense that make for a great creature feature, and you can have your more horrific aspects of the creature feature, like not to mention, oh no, this is like an '80s thing, I believe. Predator came out in the '80s, I believe. I want to say '86 or '87, but like it was late '80s, I think at most maybe, at the very least early '90s, but I think it was like the late '80s. But like you just have like you can go more into like the jungle horror aspect of being hunted by the predator. Um, and I think Anaconda, like I said, it just has there isn't too much comedy in that film. It's all like grounded comedy in which you're naturally going to have like this group of people that go back and forth that have some comedic elements to it. Moments of levity that I think are important in some creature features to have, and you may have conflicting tones one way or the other, which, I wouldn't be surprised if Anaconda has a conflicting tone to where you have these moments of genuine horror, suspense, and thrills that are undercut with moments of comedy that you see a lot with the modern films, especially Marvel films, where you'll have like these heartfelt moments that are undercut by a need for comedy because you don't want the audience to be bored. And then like I honestly I'll always defend GXK for this. GXK didn't have that. You had the somber, like tonally heartwarming moments that were serious and um, grounded, but they were never interrupted by moments of extreme comedy or anything. Like I feel like they were complemented more by the moments of levity um, throughout those films. And honestly, I think King of the Monsters suffers more from that than GXK does. GXK knew when to have the levity, the comedy, the jokes, and never undercut any of the moments of suspense, thrill, or just heartwarming moments. That's what I'll say about GXK and the Wingard films in general, too. Water break. Yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking so far. If anyone has any discussions, do you have any takes on modern day creature features? Do you have any takes on Anaconda, the new one or the old, or just on how it fits with the legacy of the franchise? Let me know what you think, and we can use that as like a launch pad for a new discussion or just a more open discussion. Because I think there's a lot to talk about with creature features. Would love to know different perspectives. Any comments or anything like that, let me know. Because as well as that, like there's a lot to talk about with creature features. Like I said, I think it's one of my favorite genres, and like just taking a look at all the creature features I have, like I love like, my favorite format. I want to say is definitely DVD. Like I own so many creature feature DVDs, and I love Blu-ray. It's probably like the second most of what I have, but like my one of my ideal days is just sitting in my room with my DVD player, popping in the DVD with my snacks, some pizza, anything like that, and it'll just be like a nice time. And like I think the creature feature genre is my favorite thing for that, because I have a natural fascination for biology. I grew up wanting to be just like Steve Irwin. So I love animals. I love nature. Again, I love reptiles. Um, Godzilla is a big thing with that. Like with Godzilla '98 being my first Godzilla film and the earliest film I ever remember watching. Given that Godzilla was a mutated iguana, I love reptiles. I love iguanas because of that. I grew up having many iguanas as pets. I would swim with them. I would love just enjoy their company. I love handling reptiles, snakes, anaconda. Again, is one of the reasons I love snakes. Like I know there's many people who have spoken about how anaconda made them scared of snakes as much as Jaws made them scared of sharks, as the ocean. I I never really was scared by most animals whenever I, as a result of like these films, because I love these films for the fact that they can be scary, they can be suspenseful, they can be thrilling, they can have moments of heartwarming levity, and I think what makes it so well done is that any movie can have any level of production value, but the creature feature genre offers so much in creative output, production value, with um, uh, I might be biased in saying it's more so to do with films that combine practical effects with the CGI. But if you have a creature feature, I think it's important that you have some element of practicality, because having something there and having something that the audience can really latch onto um, will go the extra mile with how well they either connect with or fear the threat or antagonist of the film, because it just adds that element of just grounded reality to where you know that the practical effect, you know that the monster isn't real, but in a different way it is. You have the actual man in the suit. You have the puppeteer controlling the rod puppet or the animatronic. You have this thing that is in front of the camera, and in some way, on some level, the monster is real. The creature is there, and you just have this amazing effect of having an actor there with the monster. And I feel like in some ways you can't really get that with CGI, or at the very least, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work that pays off with having this amazing creature that is in front of, well, it's not really in front of anything because it's all on computer, but if you can get the performance to come through with that level of care, it can be amazing. But given how much hard work it takes to do that and to pull it off, you'll always have some level of that with the practical effect. You can have a cheap suit, you can have a cheap Halloween costume, but the effect will always still be there, because with a costume, a cheap Halloween costume, you'll still have something there in front of the camera to shoot, to interact with the actors, and to really bring it home to having the audience connect with it. And like with that, with the new Anaconda film, given that it's probably going to be an all CGI snake, and it might not take itself as seriously as any other creature feature that does, um, you're probably not going to have that effect, and I'm probably just going to be really disappointed with it. And that's not to say that having an all CGI creature is bad. Like I said, I love the Megalodon movies. I love how fun they have with the concept, how you have those moments of levity, but also just heartwarming moments where you have the characters go through their arcs, interact with the other things. But I think the CGI was really well done, more so for the first movie. Um, and like that's not to knock a movie as a whole for having bad CGI if everything else can work well. But it's sad to have that element missing. So whenever I see a practical element that both feels practical, looks good, and just has a clear passion shown through it in any way. I enjoy that more than most CGI out there. Um, because if you take a look, I've also really wanted to talk about Alien Earth, and I might make my own dedicated video to that once it finally wraps up. But with Alien Earth, I've been liking the series so far, and one of the reasons that I think it's done pretty well with the practical side of the alien. And it is pretty disappointing to see a lot of people aren't really seeing it, but I think a lot of the suit work with as it goes on was done really well. And I really liked how the xenomorph looked on camera in the suit. And there are a few things I will say I have to nitpick. Sometimes it can look pretty unconvincing, just due to either how they shot it or how the practical element looks. Um, because there are some shots where it just looks like either fake or, like I said, unconvincing of this being like an actual creature. It looks like any sort of popcorn bucket prop that we saw for Alien Romulus coming out, even though those were cool on their own. As a creature that's trying to be convincing, I wasn't convinced. And I think there's some elements of the costume that I just don't like on a personal level. I don't like the small tubes on the back. I think it looks weird. I think the neck looks weird in some shots if you really focus on it, and like it can be a little jarring. But looking at the whole and how they portray it, there's lots of elements. With the latest episode, I have my own qualms, even again with how they portray the scenes. But just looking at the suit, I do really love that practical suit, and I just think that um, yeah, having a practical element is important for any film of when it comes to creature feature genre films. It's important you have that practical element to make the monster feel real and for it to actually be real. Because you can have a perfect animatronic snake, you can have an amazing animatronic crocodile, you can have an amazing practical Godzilla suit, and if however little you may use it, if you use it importantly and with meaning, any practical element can go a long way in making your monster feel real. And that is what really drives home the point of creature features, and having that real element of fear, suspense, thrill, and have it be felt by your audience so that the movie itself is effective in what it's trying to do. Jaws would not be what it is without the practical shark. The sharks in Deep Blue Sea would not be what they are without the moments of practical sharks. And I think shark movies really should bring back, because for Deep Blue Sea, you had like full body animatronic practical sharks that I don't believe even needed to be on a wire. And that technique is still being done today at water shows, where they've switched out the real dolphins with animatronic dolphins, and they are practically the same thing. So just have a shark movie with an actual practical shark, and you can have just that real element of the monster and the fear it brings to the audience. So let's see. With that, again, anyone who's just joining in, we have been talking about Anaconda, the new 2025 movie, as well as a classic 1997 original. If you have any takes or anything to say on what your thoughts on the movie as well as just like the creature feature genre as a whole, comment down below. Let me know what you think. I'm also going to take the moment to just comment my referral link in the comments down below. If you are looking to sign up for streaming or looking to level up your streaming game, check out StreamYard. You can get a $10 discount using my referral link. It helps me a long way. You can see on the corner there. Yeah, it just goes a long way. It helps me out. A reminder, I also do have some commissions open. If you like kaiju or have any OCs you want me to draw, I have commissions open through Ko-fi. You can check that out on my Vic's Monstrosities Twitter account, as well as my Crispy Vic Instagram account. Check those out. It's pretty neat. Helps me a long way. Let's see. So we are drawing to a close. I'll take a little bit of a step back, maybe grab something to eat. Let's see. Media assets. Let's play some music. Play some lo-fi vibes. I'm gonna step away for a little bit, but again, we've been talking about Anaconda, creature features as a whole, and the modern day monster genre. If you have anything to say, link it down below. I'll use it as a launch pad to start off something new. Again, if you have anything to say about creature features as a whole, comment down below. We've been talking about Godzilla, Anaconda, Lake Placid, all the things like that, from kaiju to large beasts to, small critters. We love the creature feature genre as a whole. Let's see. Yeah. I wonder if... let me see. But I should do something to pass the time, but I'm gonna be right back. I may have something to eat here, but let me know if there's anything else, any discussion points at all. Comment down below. I'll be right back, guys. Hello again, audience. Forgive me needing to go eat or grab something to eat, but welcome back, everybody. So again, we're gonna take things a little slow now, as I'm just having a little bite to eat. But topic of discussion: creature features, particularly the Anaconda franchise. Any thoughts on the new film that's gonna be coming out this Christmas? And again, my personal thoughts on it are I am a little disappointed with the premise that's going in, as well as the tone. But I'm going to go into it somewhat optimistically. Hopefully I'll be able to find some fun out of it. But again, I'm probably going to have to disassociate the new Anaconda 2025 from the original 97 one. Let's see. I might do something fun. There you go. Welcome to the webcam version of me. Forgive my appearance. I've been on a little... I just got off of a pretty long weekend at work. I had some stuff going, but we're here to have some fun. Eating on stream. Is that what streamers do nowadays? Uh-oh. My dogs. But yeah, like I was saying, or like I've been saying the past stream, like I wish more thought was put into creature features nowadays. Not that there isn't some good ones, as I mentioned all stream before, but like I feel like there needs to be, like, I think there's a place for more satirical, for more parody type of creature features, but they shouldn't be at the expense of like the legacy of a certain franchise, because like, you know, there's room for things like that. But you know, and I'm wondering, I would love to hear the opinion of most people that know me, because I have a bit of a reputation in my friend group. Again, the Zimzilla sphere, and the Gojin, the Makai Phantom sphere, the Sea Monster sphere, of having either low standards or being more accepting of different things. But honestly, it's just with this new movie, bottom line, I was disappointed with the direction that the new Anaconda movie was taken. And I'm probably just repeating that over and over again throughout the stream. But yeah, I think I just wish there was a different tone they went with it, a different direction overall. And like yeah, because like something like Alien Earth, there's some, like, it's taken more seriously than like what Anaconda's looking to go for, which is great. Like, but like, imagine if like there was like some comedy version of Aliens, which I'm sure there are, but they're not part of the actual franchise, nor are they trying to like really riff on the name of Alien, which is how I feel about what Anaconda's doing. And I know it's not that big a franchise, it's not Alien, but it's Anaconda. It has its niche little reputation going on, so to see it, you know, come to this, it's just sad. And like, I'm sure there's probably some levels of passion going into it. I was like, I feel like Jack Black and Paul Rudd probably wouldn't do this if there's any, like, nothing in it for them other than money. But like Anaconda, they're going with Anaconda. Like who'd have thought that we'd be seeing an Anaconda something or other in the recent years? Like, When I first heard that announced, I was hopeful for it, but now I'm not so much. hmm So hopefully there's just, a light at the end of the tunnel, a silver lining or something. Because, like I said, like maybe this will lead to. I hope it leads to better remakes or reboots of, long-standing franchises like take for instance Lake Placid, like I mentioned, like maybe like a remake of The Relic. That would be pretty neat to see, something like that, or like one of those legacy sequels, which I think either way can be pretty cool. But nevertheless, I think modern day Hollywood could use a few new creature features in there. Because like right now, the main big one is definitely the MonsterVerse. Like I think it'd be. I don't think it'd be wrong to say it's like the Marvel of like just the monster genre, creature features, things like that. Because like I think there's some justification in classifying, like differentiating a creature feature from a monster movie, or better yet, a kaiju movie. But like we're just like differentiating different things. Like I typically go by size. Like a long time ago or a few years ago, I made a Twitter post about like what's your favorite type of monster, I think I called it, and I had small critters, which is things like the critters or the gremlins, and then you have large beasts, which are things like I would say like the graboids from Tremors, um, like the crocodile from Lake Placid. That could go for large beasts. Maybe Bruce counts from Jaws. And then you have, I want to say, mm, I was and then you had like human-sized monsters. So this could be anything like maybe we can count the Death Angels from A Quiet Place, the Xenomorph from Alien, the Predator, things like that. And finally, you come to Kaiju, or and I think dinosaurs will go into the large beast category, or anything the size of like a T-Rex or something like that. Whereas Kaiju, you can go anything from, I know dinosaur, but like say a large sauropod or something like that. So like a large sauropod to as big as Godzilla Earth maybe, but basically Kaiju. So you have those four categories of what I personally split up, like the different types of monsters, because monsters is a catch-all term. Which I remember there was I read something on Twitter about like how, forgive me as I forget what the specific claim was or the topic, but it was something about how like monster we use for like a catch-all term, as opposed to like in the Japanese language they have different names for different things, like the kami versus the yokai, kaiju, things like that. But we also have the same thing in certain ways. Like you have demons, you have devils, you have you have dinosaurs, you have you can. There's lots of different things have different names, but like how do you categorize your monsters or things like that? Mm-hmm. And then you also have to go by movie too. because the way I differentiate, like classifying different monsters, also applies to movies. Like you have your like kaiju movies, you have your. Because like when I say creature feature, I try to use it as a catch-all term, but you can say different things like you know, a kaiju movie, or a vampire movie, or a zombie movie, things like that. Like it's just interesting to see how much you can differentiate movies within their own subgenres. You know, that's very interesting to see. One thing that's never disappointing to me is Lunchables pizzas. As a kid, I never microwaved my Lunchable pizzas. I always ate them like, you know, fresh, or however you describe it, raw. I don't know. Something weird about me is for my Lunchables pizzas, I never use the marinara sauce or the pizza sauce. I never liked using it. It's just like the bread, the cheese, the pepperoni. That's all I eat. Let's see here. That's the end of the food cam. Alright. Background noise. But yeah. I don't know if I might call it a night, but let's see. I might end up calling it a night now. Not sure if anyone else might want to join in. Again, I know my friends are busy and this was a bit of a last minute stream. Yeah. But I feel like I'm at a point now where I might want to just start doing these things more regularly. I know I've promised like the different podcasts, like the Cryptic Happenings or the Drawcasts, and I'm gonna try my best to still do those. I'll probably reach out to some more people either way. And I promised Minecraft World one for a Drawcast special feature, and I want to do more of those either way. So I'll probably reach out again to get a date for that, since I do have my next week scheduled by now. So maybe if there's any time next week, I'll probably set that up. But yeah, the variety hours are probably just going to be the main thing for now. I mean, given the name, I can probably just turn them into like a drawing stream or a chill stream, any kind of discussion stream. Cause yeah, like I want to definitely dive more, but you know, I'm just lazy, or I got too many things to do. I do want to say there are some upcoming things that I'm excited to hopefully announce in the near future. There is some big things that are going to be happening again, since as I've been stating. But in general, I'll just say look forward to any of the local Los Angeles people, or anyone visiting Los Angeles or who might want to visit. Keep an eye out for November, because as I've reported before, Godzilla Store pop-up is coming back. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to be hopefully doing more things with that, but I'm going to hold off on anything like that in terms of big announcement. But look forward to some more things happening. But yeah, that's probably going to be it for me. Going to be signing off in just a little bit. We're at 2 hours and 10. I don't know if that's my usual stream time, but before I go, I want to thank again Godzilla 2005. Thank you for coming on. First time guest here. Of course, you can catch me as well as him on other various streams, like the Sea Monster Essays Seacast. You have Minecraft World's newly new stream of just discussing with Minecraft World 1954. Minecraft World 1954 is his full name, just so you don't get any miscellaneous Minecraft videos. And there's also I do want to give a shout out to Blackaroonie. is Black Screen is currently on hiatus. Actually, I was on the last episode of that Black Screen, which I'll see if I believe he said he made them all public again. But he will be returning only if I believe if he gets to 500 subscribers, which at that point is also a threshold to I believe be start to be monetized in some way. So shout out to Black Rooney there, and of course shout out to Zimzilla99 for the Zimcast, which you can find all of us there as well. We tend to cross over a lot in our own cinematic universe of streams. Of course, again, I want to mention my commissions that I have open on my Coffee page. I have it linked in my Instagram to Crispy Vic, as well as my Twitter, Vic's Monstrosities and or Vic Monstrous. You can find me there as well. And thank you for coming. Anyone who stopped by, checked in. Again, I was just really passionate about this new movie coming out. I was disappointed, and I was really driven to really talk about it on the stream. I do wish some of my other friends had come on here so that we can further discuss things. Kind of just stalling out to if there's any hope of that. But like I said, I'll probably be doing more. I might do another one within the week or a few more next week. So stay tuned for those again. But thank you everyone for coming on. Thank you anyone who stayed, all the one guest who came on. But with that, I'll be signing off. Thank you again, Kaiju Seekers. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. And until next time, over and out.